I'm Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co., and this is going to be To Back or Not to Back. We're going to be going through a bunch of crowdfunding campaigns, no different than usual, although last week I did say I wasn't sure if there was going to be a To Back or Not to Back this week, and there indeed, shockingly enough, is. I'm also not sure if there will be one next week, but I'm guessing there will be one too. We are, or at least seemingly, back in the swing of things as far as crowdfunding goes. But before we dive into any of that, as usual, let's start off with Cult of the Now, where over at Game Nerd you can get Dice Realms on sale for $67, or $67.97, so it's basically $67 if you round down. But basically, Dice Realms, which is a $120 game, when it first came out you can get it for $100, and now it's available for significantly cheaper than that. A general reminder that once again, you can just wait and be patient, and things will be cheaper. In fact, if you go ahead and check out Victorian Masterminds, that's available for like $16. That was one that was like $60 when it came out, and that's also on Game Nerds in case you want to slowly work your way towards free shipping any of those options. In general, Cult of the Now is the reminder that crowdfunding is very cool, crowdfunding is very fun. A lot of the games in my top 100 are from crowdfunded games, but a lot are also not from crowdfunded games. A lot of them are going to be games you can actually not wait. In crowdfunding, you have to wait, you have to check, you have to pay more money or get these deluxified versions. And if you wait till retail, if you wait till now, you can go ahead and get games that have more reviews, more coverage of the game, so you can check them out, more time to see the audience feedback, and generally at a cheaper price point. Crowdfunding is great, but there's plenty of other ways to get your hands on games. And with that little splash of water on your crowdfunding plans, let's go ahead and move into the various crowdfunding categories. We have a board game adjacent, we have some not funding, we have some updates, small things all over the place. Starting with board game adjacent with Vast Grimm Into Oblivion. I will not be talking about this that much because I don't know anything about it, but I remember covering the last one briefly over whenever it was. Basically, Vast Grimm, 1,200 backers, $100,000 raised. A sci-fi horror RPG set in a dying universe. This seems to be continuing into the Vast Grimm series. They've had content before. It's very colorful. It's an RPG. You can check it out. That's as far as my knowledge on this one goes. Past that, we have visual puzzles over Alice in Wonderland being added to the set of visuals over here. These are from Sam Hillam. They've been on Kickstarter before. He does a bunch of board game content as well. And he's had this set of, kind of exploration-based puzzles on Kickstarter, on crowdfunding before. Although this one's adding the Alice in Wonderland set. So you can go ahead and get some of the old ones. You can get the new ones. They're going to run you around, $35, $26 for one puzzle. Although if you get a bunch of puzzles, it will slowly get a little bit cheaper bit by bit. But if you want, and including factoring, saving, and shippings. But if you're looking for a Where's Waldo-esque experience with puzzles, Visuals is going to be your go-to. From there, we go into the not funding category. Not funding category starting off with Crypto Collector, an auction board game as an art owner. 45 backers, $2,900 raised so far. Crypto Collector looks intriguing, but isn't pulling in an audience just yet. It seems to be about, going through a degree of, collecting various pieces of art that are, NFTs and things like that. It seems to be. It looks to be NFT adjacent. I don't know much about the gameplay yet. It's from Smart Ape Games, which is hilarious because of, the Bored Ape Yacht Club, for those of you who know about NFT stuff. In general, in any case, Smart Ape Games, Crypto Collector, is going to be $54 for the deluxe, $31 for the regular. Again, currently not funding right now, although may cross the finish line. It's going to be tough to see. 20 days to go gives us some window, and it's not looking for that much of a funding goal, but we'll see. And then hopefully, unlike crypto, hopefully you'll get your game. It would be really... in general, board games are a fairly safe category of things. Doesn't mean things don't happen, but as far as the general crowdfunding space, board games tend to be amongst the safer options. But it would be ironic in a very sad way if the game you didn't get was one that was related to crypto. That'd be sad. Anyways, moving on, we have Ballads Tales, Journeys of the Brave, $14,000 raised out of a $45,000 goal, 181 backers, 21 days to go. I don't think this will fund, at least not based on where it currently is and how far it needs to go. If you watch the video, this calls itself a nostalgic dungeon crawler board game. I think that's very true. I think, unfortunately, it probably leans a little too heavily into nostalgia. It comes across as a very old school approach to dungeon crawlers in a way that doesn't seem to be pulling in quite enough of an audience just yet. So check it out. If you're looking for that throwback kind of feel, you'll definitely get this from that. Whether or not that's something that's a good thing or not, that is where it's a little harder to tell. It's harder to tell when something is a nostalgic callback with more modern board game mechanics and whatnot, or not quite as much. And I genuinely mean that. It's hard to tell. I just don't know for Ballads Tales. The cover art looks nice. The rest of it feels very dated, which could be intentional. Could be back to that whole nostalgic callback aspect. Then over on GameHound, we have Scrap, 111 backers, $23,000, the goal is, 23,000 Australian dollars, currently at $19,400 Australian dollars raised so far. Scrap's going to be an area control game. Area control, tableau building, robot programming kind of situation. A whole bunch of things going on. You can check out my coverage of it, or a variety of coverage on the game. But basically this game is giving you a puzzle of how to program out your cards, how to sequence your actions, planning turns in advance as you try to slowly wander around the board collecting various locations, collecting scrap or whatnot, trying to slowly get as many points as possible while you deal with combats when you need to, and upgrade your deck whenever else. It has some adorable little chunky little meeples. You can check that out. Again, just over here on GameFound right now. Looks like it will fund as of right now. 30 days left to go with a small gap to go. It likely will end up funding, but we'll see. That's going to be scrap. From there, moving into the board game updates category. In the board game updates, we have Marvel United Multiverse. I will have a full Should You Back It video on this, but it'll likely be in the last 2 days of the campaign. I'm guessing the Sunday before the campaign ends. So if you're looking for a Should You Back It on Marvel United, well, we'll cover all that in more detail. Well, next week. Sunday, probably, I think, I'm pretty sure. But past that, Marvel United Multiverse, 12,000 backers, because it crossed that 10,000 backer mark. That's when I do the Should You Back It's officially, or whenever I'm feeling in the mood. $1.8 million raised, 10 days to go. Marvel United Multiverse is bringing a ton of things to your table, including they've actually updated with a bunch of old content. So there's a whole bunch of things going on here. I'm not going to go heavily into detail. This is an update. I already covered the game briefly. This is more Marvel United content. You don't need any of it. You may want some of it. You may want all of it. All those things are available. And for those people who are looking at all the stretch goals, tons of those slowly pouring in, from heroes to anti-heroes to villains. All the stretch goals just continuously piling in. You're going to get tons of content for your game. But then past that, they have a variety of optional buys to the game. They have the core pledge. They have the Galactus pledge as well, called something else. It's called the, we have the Multiverse pledge for 65, the Herald pledge for 100, and then we have all these add-ons, including Civil War. They introduced a Civil War optional buy for $40 with some Kickstarter exclusive characters over here. And Civil War is going to give you 2 ways to have teams of heroes fighting against each other. Way 1 is going to be having you punch each other in the face, and way 2 is going to be focusing on the, what was it called again? The, I can't remember what it's called, but the whole thing when they wanted people to register or whatnot, register superheroes, having you either fight thematically through Civil War or just punching each other in the face. Those are the 2 ways to play. You can check out a gameplay of that over on Quacklope. He did a gameplay on TTS. You can check that out. That's going to cover Marvel United, Civil War, if you want to check that out. We have War of Kings, which introduces just more content for the game. Not a ton of new aspects, just more stuff. And then we have the Age of Apocalypse over here, which introduces, you know, fighting through Apocalypse over there. We have a new playmat for those who want it. We have team decks in case you want to start teaming up with various thematic aspects going on there. And then we have some classic optional buys. We have the Classic Promos Bundle, and the United Promos Bundle, and the X-Mutant Promos Bundle, and the Fantastic Four. These are basically giving you options, some of the stuff that was available in prior campaigns for those of you who are looking for that exclusive stuff, which many of you were, so here you go. You can go ahead and pay a lot of money to get a ton of stuff over here from the original content for the game. Classic Promos is a bundle of United and Mutant, in case you're wondering, because that's, you know, how you can get both of those. But anyways, that's going to be the current Multiverse update over here. Not a ton of things to go over because I'm not going into detail. This is a quick update. Again, full Should You Back It will be coming next week. From there we move to Wiz-War, the new campaigns. Wiz-War, Tom Jolly's classic board game returns. 1,300 backers, $57,000 raised, 4 days to go. Wiz-War is bringing back Wiz-War, which had like 7 editions, and then they had Fantasy Flight, which was the 8th edition, and now they have Wiz-War, which I guess is the 9th edition. I'm not entirely clear. This is not an update to Fantasy Flight's version. This is more of a callback to the originals, although with some aspect or card names or things like that used from Fantasy Flight with, you know, appreciation for them and all that. But basically, it's more Wiz-War. Wiz-War's been out of print. If you want to get your hands on this new option for it, well, a whole bunch of people do want to get their hands on it. 1,300 backers already. This is going to be magic casting, dueling of trying to accomplish your goals while basically throwing things in each other's way. It's basically just craziness on the table. If you're looking for like a Black Rose Wars experience in a much smaller, cheaper box, this gives you a taste of that kind of craziness and madness. I have the original Wiz-War, not the original, I have the Fantasy Flight version with the expansions. I need to dive into that at some point, but this is basically Wiz-War, giving you an opportunity to check out how to cast spells in each other's faces as crazily as possible, as well as a variety of optional buys in case you want Greed Quest or any of these other things over here, Spank over here, any of these options for the game. Pledge level is going to be $30 for the game, and then $30 for the international, and then Wiz-War and Greed for $60. As far as should you back it, should you not? Hard to say on this one. This one falls into a weird category. In general, Steve Jackson games, their crowdfunding campaigns usually are not quite as worthwhile. You can usually wait till later and get it cheaper. $30 though is a very cheap price point. I'm not sure how much the game will be down the road as far as the MSRP or the retail cost of the game. And then additionally, Wiz-War does have a history of going out of print. So I would say if you are interested in this one, the cost is not that high. It's probably worth getting on Kickstarter, but I'm not confident you'll get your money back either. It's a weird balance of specifically Wiz-War versus Steve Jackson games in general, and trying to figure out which way this is going to lean from those. So probably not a bad back, but also one that you may or may not get your money back, depending on how it goes. From there we have Perdition's Mouth back to the USA, 45 backers, $7,000 raised, 5 days to go. This is going to be a reprint of, well, Perdition's Mouth with some expansion content, ways to get it. There's only one pledge over here, $140 for the everything, you know, revised edition, including all stretch goals from whatever. It's going to be $179. This is a hard one to go by in terms of the cost over here. This is, by the way, is a dungeon crawler. A dungeon crawler that's supposed to be like quick to teach, quick to play, giving you a bunch of rounds you can go through and dive into fairly quickly. A very accessible dungeon crawler, supposedly. I have not played this one myself, so I can't comment past, you know, checking BGG pages and how to play and all that stuff. But basically, this is a dungeon crawler, a bunch of miniatures, bunch of content, had a few Kickstarters, and then they had the revised edition. This is the reprinted revised edition. This one, though, as far as should you back or should you not, in general, it's hard to say for sure, because if you look over on, you know, BGG Market or say used sales and whatnot, it is one that is available for cheaper than what you're seeing over here. This $140 over here generally sells for well less than that. So it's hard to say for sure as far as whether it'll hold its value or not. This one does seem to be expensive-ish as far as things go. There's only 100 copies over here for the whole game. This is basically just one option to go ahead and get your hands on the game if you want to jump into it. But yeah, it is on the expensive side. It does sell for a decent amount, but not for $140, which has me skeptical that it will hold its value. It seems like this is basically an option to, you know, get the few copies left at a decently high price point, which, again, accessibility, it's all there. But as far as should you back or should you not, it seems a little harder to say for sure in terms of it seems like it sells for less than what you're currently getting over here. We have Roll for Great Old Ones, a roll in my game. 824 backers, $19,000 raised. This is from, I already forgot, they did a previous campaign that I was interested in. They did Wutaki, which I never actually backed, but I was interested in this. But either way, Roll for Great Old Ones. 824 backers, $19,000 raised. This is a cooperative or solo experience of rolling dice as you basically go through an Arkham Horror-esque experience of gathering clues, taking down the old ones, doing all of that stuff in this game. It's basically going to be a complicated rolling right. So you're going to have your investigators, your scenarios, your scenario guides, your system rulebook. You're going to be rolling dice every single turn, using some dice to build up your engine, and the other dice will be cultists in the game. You can check out the video for a bit more how to play, or there's also guided, you know, stuff in the page if you want to check through a full, like, turn-by-turn sequence over that. The cost of the game is going to run you basically for the print your own investigator pledge is going to run you €10, and then €25 or around $28 for the Great Old One pledge if you want to go ahead and actually get your hands on the game. Plus, of course, shipping, factor that in. As far as should you back or should you not, this one I'm leaning towards yes if you want to get your hands on it. This one, well, to be more specific, I should say, as far as cheapest option to get your hands on it, likely going ahead and backing you. As far as will it hold its value, for the $28 plus the shipping it gets, you're probably not going to see your full amount of money back. But if you are interested in this one, it's likely the best opportunity to get your hands on it. 824 backers means there's some degree of demand, but not a ton. So it's going to be one of those games which is harder to get your hands on later, and then it's also cheap. It's also a fairly small box game with the shipping going to factor in. So, you know, if you're trying to get it later down the road, you might save $5 something. You're not going to save a lot of money in this one. This is a roll and write game of cascading bonuses and leveling up all that stuff. Again, solo or cooperative play if you dive into this one. Moving on, we have Mage Noir, Now It Begins, coming back to Kickstarter. 710 backers, $100,000 raised, 8 days to go. Mage Noir already actually had a previous Kickstarter, and this is giving you all new content for this head-to-head system. This one gives you a few things that keep it, you know, different and whatnot. It's got a progressive mana system similar to a Hearthstone in the sense that you basically don't have to worry about mana in your deck. Additionally, you're combining cards in a way, so you're going to be combining your cards for unique spells as you go through this. And then there's the new content over here. We have the core game for €39, $43. We have the game plus first two expansions for $71. We have the all 6 new expansions for $86 over here if you want all 6 of the new expansions. And then we have base game plus all expansions for $163, or base game plus all new expansions, or sorry, all new expansions for $217 if you want absolutely everything. No, absolutely everything is going to be $434. And we do in fact have 30 backers in at that $434 option over there. That is a lot of people who are committed to this game. Now, the art looks cool, the game looks cool, seems decently rated from the previous copies that have delivered. It hasn't been around that long yet, so as far as should you back or should you not, I'm actually, weirdly, I'd say so far yes, but I'm not confident. This is one that I was definitely skeptical the first time round. Head-to-head card games generally don't do a great job of distinguishing themselves enough to hold a value. Usually it's easier to throw together a head-to-head card game, and they tend to be more common than a full-on board game as far as there's people saying, hey, I'm going to build a game that's going to be a card dueling system. And in general, they have their audience, but they don't do a great job holding their value. The flip side is I would say that there's only 2 sales currently from the prior Kickstarter, and those 2 sales are holding their value just fine. So it's hard to say for sure, but based on the only 2 sales that there are, it may be one that holds its value, because the other ones, the only 2 sales are above what people paid for it, although it's still new. So give it time, things may settle down, it may be available for cheaper. So put this one in the category of If you're interested, maybe go ahead and back it over here. It's a lot of money, different pledge levels over here. You can see how all in you want to go. Or you could wait and see whether they come back to crowdfunding, because honestly, with a $100,000 second Kickstarter, I'm guessing that they come back for round 3. So if you're on the fence, I would say go ahead and back at whatever minimal pledge level you think is going to tell you whether this is a game for you, and then come back on the third Kickstarter and see what other content you want to add if you indeed have actually played and enjoyed this game. Moving on, we have Batman Escape from Arkham Asylum from Night Games, 424,000 euro raised, 2,000 backers. This is currently, well, over on GameFound. This is from Night Games, who did the Harry Potter Hogwarts game on Kickstarter. And then this one is basically bringing you the Batman Escape from Arkham Asylum. It's bringing you a cooperative, or one versus many semi-cooperative dungeon crawl of 1 to 5 players, in which you're basically trying to escape from Arkham Asylum playing as the bad guys. There are a bunch of ways to play, though. In fact, if you add various expansions, you can play as the good guys. You can play in solo or cooperative as the good guys as well if you want that. But the basic core gameplay is escape from Arkham Asylum. There's going to be a ton of content for this game, which is a big deal because it's 125 euro is the base option. 125 euro is going to be the base henchman pledge, giving you all applicable stretch goals and that base game. And there are a bunch of stretch goals, a lot of stuff. And Night Games, by the way, Night Games previously have done, they're originally Night models, and they've done a ton of models and sculpts and things for these various IPs. So they have a lot of experience with sculpts, although I believe their general sculpting line is different material than the game, so take that into account. I don't know what the final things will be like this on this. We have the Super Villain Pledge, which is going to give you 185 euro for the base game and the Batman Riot and Blackgate expansion. We have the Mastermind Pledge, which gives you 270 euro, for includes all the stuff over here as far as all that, and that doesn't include absolutely everything, because it's still going to be the Batman Heirs of the Cowl expansion set for 40 euro that is not in that pledge. The Mastermind Pledge does not have Batman Heirs of the Cowl. Keep that in mind when you go through this, that this is necessary if you want the all-in. So if you want all-in, some of these things are going to have to be added. The patient skin set over here, and a set of alternate skins for the game. This is something that if you backed in the first 24 hours, you already have this for free, but otherwise, you have to go ahead and pay for it. The Bane over here, that's going to cost you 7 euro. The other 2 expansions over here, those are in the all-in pledge, but you can go through all of these. Heirs of the Cowl is basically going to give you a bunch of heroes to fight against. Basically, generally, you're fighting against Batman, but you can sub in various heroes. I believe one of them will be coming in the Riot and Blackgate, so if you check this out, yeah, you can get Nightwing in the Riot and Blackgate expansion. And again, this is 70 euro on its own, a little less if you're combining it as part of the various pledge levels. This is going to give you a bunch of supervillains, it's going to give you Nightwing, it's going to be the various prisons, personnel, more tokens, more cars, more rulebooks, riot plans. Batman Quest for Arkham Asylum over here is going to give you the opportunity to play as Batman in the game. So now you have the opportunity to play as Batman and defeat the bad guys. I believe that's going to be the solo/co-op play over here. And then we have the Heirs of the Cowl, which gives you a bunch of new heroes. So if you want to fight against Robin, or Red Robin, or Huntress, or Red Hood, Orphan, or Batgirl, then you can fight against all these options here. Again, this is not currently any of the pledge levels, so make sure to add that separately. We have the Joker's dice set over here. We have the special dice set, the dice tower, we have the card sleeves. Many of these items are GameFound exclusive, so if you want to get your hands on them, you're going to have to go ahead and back it over here, as opposed to waiting later. The core game may well be available later retail, but a lot of the things over here, a lot of the content is very much exclusive to GameFound. Just check the tag over here. The core expansions don't seem like they are, but a lot of the content otherwise is, and that's before we get to stretch goals. Basically, stretch goal wise, we have a bunch of stuff. Let's go ahead and dive into it. We have the Riddler as a playable character over here. We have, moving on, we have Mr. Freeze. We have Jervis Tetch over here, who I don't know, but I don't know the Batman stuff that well. We have Polka Dot Man. We're also going to have Condiment King soon. We have Harley Quinn over here. We have Harley Quinn, the psychiatrist skin over here, alternate skin. We have Rorschach, right? So we have Condiment King over here, in case you want to dive into Condiment King. We have the Penguin, both regular and, well, both alternate and regular from Batman Returns. We have Kite Man, who I've definitely never heard of. We have item cards. We have the Racer, who I've never heard of, but looks amazing as far as the sculpt. We have event cards. We have police officers, a new adversary you can play against. We have Hush over here. So just a bunch of stretch goals as far as the various things that are being unlocked. We have the Joker from the Dark Knight. We're going to have the Batman Quest at Arkham Asylum dice. We have player cards, Infamy Tracker. We have the Batman Who Laughs over here. And then we have Talon William Cobb, playable character. And I think there's going to be like 1 or 2 more things. Batman Who Laughs boss cards and escape plan. And then I think the last thing is the Batman combat cards. And then the vending machine. Did we just unlock this? This is new. This wasn't here when I last prepped the campaign. So vending machine. This is the new one. An upgrade from the core box over here. And that's going to be all the stuff you have. And we have a bunch of social stretch goals. We already saw these unlocked over there. But that's what we have for Batman, the Escape from Arkham Asylum. So a whole lot of content, again, coming to you from Night Models. A ton of stuff. It is definitely expensive. Take that into account. But you're getting a lot of IP-friendly stuff that you might be interested in. You may or may not be interested in. I'm definitely interested in this. I just want to actually play the game before I spend, $200 on it. But that is basically Batman Arkham Asylum from Night Games over on GameFound. Then we have Manhattan Project. I said Batman Project. Manhattan Project War Machine coming to you from Gale Games. 605 backers, $29,000 raised, 16 days to go. Manhattan Project War Machine is basically continuing the Manhattan Project line with a new game. This is the deluxe first printing for only $35 over here for the game, and this is going to be a Yahtzee-style dice rolling game as you build up your tableau. I have coverage in the game. You can check that out. A bunch of other content creators have covered it as well. But basically, every single round, you're going to be rolling dice, assigning to various areas in a worker placement kind of thing, where you're doing your own worker placement turns. So other players, you're not blocking other players; they can do their own turns. But you're going to be doing a worker placement turn, then a recall turn as you recall your dice and use them on various factory locations as you build up your various buildings at the same time. So you're basically trying to gather more dice, build up your buildings, do all these things in the game to build up your tableau in a variety of ways. And a game that generally takes 30 to 45 minutes to play if you're playing through it pretty quickly, which is pretty easy to do once you get the hang of it. But it's basically tableau building, Yahtzee-style dice rolling, and a worker placement and pullback turn as far as what the game is going to be doing over there. As far as should you back it, should you not, this is one that I think it's definitely on the cheap side. For $35 for the game is on the cheap side, and it's giving you the deluxe version of the game and all that stuff. But it's one that once you factor in shipping as well, it's going to bump that price to $50, and so it ultimately comes down to the demand in the game. And with 605 backers, it's there, but not necessarily a ton. Grail games in general have done fine as far as their games go, but they haven't really hit them out of the park as far as, you know, well, that sounds meaner than I mean it to be. In general, their games have not done a great job holding their value overall. They have certainly been, they have put out a bunch of games that are well rated, but their games overall in the aftermarket haven't done a great job holding their value. I would say that this is one that you can go ahead and either get later on a little cheaper, or you can get it now, and then you likely will lose $10, $15 if you turn around and find it's a game that's not for you. Moving on to Vadis and Gussy Gorillas. From Bitewing Games, 1,300 backers, $85,000 raised. This one's had a lot of coverage, or to be more specific, Vadis has had a lot of coverage, and Gussy Gorillas not so much. This is a pair of two games with a bunch of ways to get them. There's a regular Vadis, there's a regular Gussy Gorillas, there's a deluxe Vadis, there's bundled options. As far as the various options over here, we have $19 for Gussy Gorillas. And Gussy Gorillas, for context, is more of a kind of trading game which you don't see the cards you're trading. You're going to be holding up your cards and then trading with other players and trying to make decisions based on how desperate they do or don't seem to be for the cards in your hand. So kind of a bit of a blind trading game as far as the game goes, combining elements of not seeing your cards with trading games and something that's going to be half strategy, half craziness. And then we have Vadis, the standard edition, for $45. We have Gussy Gorillas plus Vadis for $59. We have Vadis Deluxe for $69 for the game. And then Vadis Deluxe plus Gussy Gorillas for $83 for that. That's going to be the multiple ways you can mix and match these two games in different versions of them. Vadis is basically a reprint of Reina Knizia's Q Vadis with a bunch of upgrades to the gameplay as well. So this is not purely an upgrade to the game itself. It's not purely an updated art, update, whatever. This is bringing new gameplay enhancements as well. It's going to be a bidding and negotiation kind of game as you try to politic your way through figuring out how to move people along these tracks in the game. And there's a bunch of gameplay on the game from Before You Play had a gameplay, we had No Rules Barred had a gameplay, they covered it, and there's a bunch of content creators covering it as well in case you want to check out Leisure Games or Board Game Barbecue. There's a bunch, or oh my gosh, what are they called? Oh my gosh, All You Can Board. All You Can Board as well, they cover the game. So there's a lot of content you can check out for the game. Lord of the Board cover the game. Just a ton of stuff as far as seeing if this is a game for you or not. This is, like I said already, it's a reprint. This is one of those weird situations because it's a reprint and deluxeification of Q Vadis, which is a game that isn't really demanded by very many people. It's an older game that has a decent but not great rating, but whether it's the appeal of some of the Reina Knizia's designs in general, or just the artwork enhancement and the upgrade enhancement, or the gameplay enhancements, there's definitely plenty of pull to this new one. I'm someone who would normally never look at Q Vadis just based on the, you know, the rating being okay but not amazing, and then this one definitely has me interested because at the end of the day, it looks cute, the meeples look amazing, the quality looks amazing. This is from Bitewing Games. Bitewing Games did the Trailblazers, what that was called. They recently did a campaign. I think it was Trailblazers. Let me just pull this up and see. I think it was Trailblazer. Let me see. I said it 3 times now. We have Trailblazers, and they also have Reina Knizia's Criminal Capers collection before that. And Trailblazers did tremendously well, and they're pulling in their audience to a degree between the various content creators covering it, and of course the audience they built up. They're pulling in a lot of people for Vadis. As far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? So first of all, the upgraded version. Let me go through the upgraded version and see what it gives you over there. Over here, if I can try to find through and scroll it. Basically, over here, the upgraded version, Deluxe Edition, is going to give you thicker player screen. The 102 clay chips are going to be replacing the cardboard tokens, and 14 wooden ability tokens will replace the card and tokens as well. So that's what you're getting for the Deluxe Edition of the game. And there's also add-on faction bags in case you want to add that. So the short version of this game is, it's definitely on the expensive side. I mean, the deluxe version of the game is going to run you $69, which is not cheap, and it's hard to say for sure whether it will or won't hold its value, considering it is a lot of things going on here. There's a huge amount of the deluxe version upgrades to it, similar to Atlantis Rising. If you look at Atlantis Rising, the original game, versus the upgraded version, again, you see a rating jump, you see changes to the gameplay, you see deluxeification, and so this could go that route. It absolutely could go that route and be one that the reprint version is well sought after to a much larger degree. And again, I've watched the content from the various people. I mean, like, All You Can Board in particular, I know they had a full video where they talked about, they had a completely separate video where they talked about, they kind of were covering it as a preview, but they really liked the game and they wanted to talk more about how they liked it, but they don't want to mix too much of their opinion into a preview content. I mean, they were conflicted based on how much they liked it, so there's always that balance here where it definitely seems to be a game that has pulled in an audience to a certain degree, whereas the original didn't quite as much. So I'm a bit on the fence on this one. I would say that it's definitely on the risk side as far as things go, but it may well be the upgrade and enhancement that the game needed to pull in the audience. So I'd say it's definitely a risk, but it may hold its value. This may be the deluxe version, may well be one that people want to hunt down and find. Otherwise, you're better off waiting to retail and seeing what you can get your hands on there. Moving on, we have Hero Realms Dungeons, 3,200 backers, $500,000 raised from Wise Wizard Games. Hero Realms Dungeon is the newest the newest Hero Realms content for the game. This is obviously from the continuation of Star Realms, which has been done tremendously well. One of the most popular deck builders out there with a ton of content for Star Realms, with Star Realms Frontiers, Star Realms, any number of other names to it. And then Hero Realms is the one that they made after that, bringing you more of an RPG kind of same basic idea. Core gameplay is very much the same, but bringing you some changes to the game as far as Hero Realms Dungeon, what it's going to be doing there. And it's going to be introducing the Bard pack, the Adventure pack, the Druid pack, all these different things, all this new content for the game, new Kickstarter exclusive content, all in one giant box over there. And there's a bunch of pledge levels over here. We have $30 for the Pledge Manager tier. That's not an actual pledge. That's just giving you $30 worth of credits to the Pledge Manager. We have over here $59 for the Dungeons tier, which is going to give you the 300 card Hero Realms Dungeon box, all the stretch goals, all the unlocked character, all the unlocked exclusives over there. It's slowly being unlocked as you scroll through this page over here of all the promos being unlocked one at a time. We have the Adventure tier, $99, which gives you the dungeons and all the new characters for a $27 savings if you bundle it all together. Then we have $299 for Hero Realms All In, getting everything for all Hero Realms stuff from all the Kickstarters, plus the beautiful Adventure storage box stored in. So that's if you want absolutely all things in Hero Realms. That's going to be $260 backers, backing at $299 for the All In. And then over here, we have, well, that's a retailer kit over there, but then we also, if you scroll down, they have content you can get. This is showing you the various factions, some sample cards, things like that throughout the game. And then if you scroll down, here's the Adventure tier. This is the Adventure tier over there. Scrolling, just tons of content. There's a ton of stuff for this game. And then finally, add-on Watery Graves pack over here, more art for the game, and then you can see various add-ons as well. There's going to be add-ons for various Hero Realms content, for the Hero Realms bundles over here. We have the various add-ons for Kapow content. Kapow is actually a pretty solid game. I have to have coverage of that at some point, but I really enjoyed that. I played that at PAX, really had a lot of fun with it. We have Robot Quest Arena content, Epic Card Game content, Star Realms content, Sorcerer content. There's a ton of stuff you can go ahead and get your hands on over here, but ultimately, as far as Hero Realms go, Hero Realms is a fun game. I've played the original Hero Realms. I have not played any of the tons of expanded content there. The Hero Realms universe and the Star Realms universe are both games you can dive into for like $25, or they're games you can spend like $300 if you really find yourself heavily invested in it. And that's what this one ultimately comes down to, as far as should you back or should you not. For Hero Realms and Star Realms, it's usually always the same thing. If you kind of don't care what you get, you can usually find yourself decent collections on BG Market, on eBay, and save some money. But if you are very much in the I want to get it all kind of catalog, if you want to get category, if you want to get everything for the games, then usually the Kickstarters are the easiest, not necessarily the cheapest, but usually the easiest way to just get everything you want for the game. But if you don't really care and you just want, a lot of it, and you don't not really that fussy about the fact that you're going to miss this promo here and that expansion there, usually you can get fairly decent sized collections at a cheaper price point. These are things that don't hold their value quite as well, but it's definitely hard to get your hands on all of it all at once, so kind of depends on which camp you fall in. If you're looking for the cheapest option, just get it on BG Market, get a used copy somewhere. They're fairly easy to get your hands on. If you're looking for all the content, Kickstarter is going to be easiest for you. Moving on, we have Trolls and Princesses. 606 backers, $48,000 raised, 19 days to go, coming from Game Brewer. Trolls and Princesses is their worker movement / placement kind of game. This is going to have you fighting as a various factions, not really fighting, being one of various factions of trolls as you wander around doing troll-like things, as you try to figure out how to, capture the various princesses, wander around the board, do other things that I don't remember from this campaign over here from the page. But basically, this is going to be the Trolls and Princesses. This is their newest medium-weight Euro game. We have €40 for the subscribers only pledge. This is basically a credit towards subscribers. Basically, if you don't know, Game Brewers put out multiple campaigns a year. They have an option to pay into being a subscriber, where you effectively will save money if you're backing multiple campaigns from them a year, but you won't save money if you're backing one. I think like 2 is almost a break-even point, and really you have to back like 3 campaigns a year from them to really be a savings. But if you do that, then the subscribers only pledge over here will give you the cheaper, it'll give you a cheaper discount on the epic option, because there's 2 options. There's a standard option for this game for, let's see, the standard option is going to run you €55. And then the Big Nose edition is going to run you €75 instead, and basically that's going to give you the subscribers option, gives you the cheaper price point to jump in on those games. But past that, as far as how to play Trolls and Princesses, you're going to be playing a card every round, then you're going to be placing out your Trolls to whatever zones and trying to figure out whether you double them up in different areas, trying to put your Trolls together in different zones for more action points, or wandering around the board to different areas. So it kind of has a slight, what's the Architects of the West Kingdom aspect of the more stuff together in one place, the better it's going to be. Bunch of actions you can go through as far as mining, building cave tiles, gaining troll powder, building it up to outposts, taking troll cards, and all of that as far as there. Then we have more actions for the villages over here. And you can check out the game on Tabletopia as well if you want to take a closer look and see if it's a game for you. The upgraded version of the game, you can see over here the difference between the deluxe and the standard over here, the big nose and the regular. Basically anything in the red frame is the big nose edition, and anything else is in the blue frame is the standard edition. So you can check out, like for instance, screen printed meeples over here, or thicker tokens over, scroll down over here, tokens versus wooden bits and all that. That's going to be basically Trolls and Princesses from Game Brewer. As far as should you back or should you not, the same conversation I generally have with Game Brewer, which is Game Brewer always used to be, a long time ago, you go back, a year and a half, 2 years ago, their games generally did well and had a decent job of holding their value without being amazing. Like, mostly got most of your money back, especially if you're buying it at subscriber prices, then even more so. But they've had a bunch of issues over the years as far as their production, which have definitely hurt a lot of the confidence in their games and how well their campaigns have done as a result, and that may or may well carry on. I don't know where this is going to end up. Like, I know they're currently on the process of trying to, get that confidence back, but they had a bunch of missteps as far as how their campaigns have gone or how their games have delivered, which has led to issues for their crowdfunding campaigns. So we'll see how this ultimately goes, but I would say that this is one that if you, like many other games, I would ultimately say if you don't feel you need it, wait till retail, pick it up in the secondhand market. It's usually a drop easier that way. From there we have Deep Shelf, a relaunch campaign. Deep Shelf was already on Kickstarter. It did not fund, unfortunately, so they did a relaunching over here. 835 backers, $67,000 raised. Deep Shelf is basically a tableau building game of deep sea exploration. As you go ahead, you're going to be basically playing cards every single round, playing cards into, there's 2 card slots. I have coverage of the game, you can check that out. But you're placing cards in different slots, and then you're going to be activating the actions as you try to wander around the deep sea, as you try to gather resources, as you try to process that resource, refine it, as you get the various technology you need to upgrade your sub, as you go deeper and deeper into the ocean, and then ultimately triggering an endgame and seeing who has built up the most efficient engine with slightly asymmetric factions, with the deep guy over here, this deep sea monster you're going to be dealing with as well. Whole bunch of things going on in the game, a lot of tableau building, a lot of decisions as far as what action sequence you take and how you build up your engine, where to build buildings, in what order to build the buildings. Everything you do in the game is kind of built around, well, I want to do this, but I want to do that first, and I want to do this so I can do that first, and I want to do that so I can do this. A lot of things to consider in this medium weight tableau building action selection game with a lot of upgrades and things. Lots of keywords, buzzwords, and fun things to do. But anyway, that's going to be the basic game over here. The pledge levels are going to be $78 for the Deep Core pledge. This is a week 1 backer situation. 61 hours to go, which means by the time you watch this, you still have a few. If you watch this video early on, you still have a few hours, I think, to get this. I'm pretty sure. Yeah, that sounds right. 48 hours from now. Nope, less than 48 hours. Yeah, you still have some time to go as far as this pledge over here. Anyways, past that, that's going to be the Deep Core pledge, which gives you the dinosaur. Oh my gosh. Dinogenics, the Dinogenics crossover variety pack, in case you want that, or $78 for just basically the Deep Core pledge if you missed that week 1 option. And then we have the Deep Kelp pledge, which again gives you a week 1 option and a non-week 1 option. And that's basically what we have going on for Deep Shelf. So not a cheap game, not by a long shot, but a very strong. Oh, and there's coins, and we have premium add-ons. We have the coins. It's going to be in the Deep Kelp pledge over there if you want those metal coins over there. Or for $6, you get the Dinogenics crossover. Again, that's going to be free if you back in week 1, or $6 if you, well, get it later. That's basically what we have going on for Deep Shelf as far as the game. As far as should you back it, should you not, will it hold its value? It's expensive. It's definitely expensive. Dinogenics was as well, but Dinogenics definitely saw more popularity. I think they had like 4,000 backers on their campaign. This one's going to cross, maybe hit 1,500 by the time the campaign's done, so not the same level of demand for the game, and definitely a high price point. I think it's one that's less likely to hold its value. You're probably going to take a hit on it to some degree. Just the nature of being this expensive. It will be one that's going to be hard to find. You're likely going to be looking at, backing it on crowdfunding, or most of the secondhand market. I do not anticipate this having a very large availability past the fact. So it's one that, again, falls in the category. If you really want it, definitely go ahead and get your hands in it. You're getting a lot of fun stuff over here, but also one that I don't think is going to be selling for $78, especially once you factor in your shipping as well that you're paying for it. It's expensive. I'm not saying it's not worth it, but it is expensive, and that will have a factor in the secondhand market. Which means we're down to 2 campaigns left. We have Witchbound over on GameFound, $75,000 raised, 1,100 backers. This has been coming from Dark Doll Games, and Witchbound is bringing you a kind of a throwback to a very video game style approach. As you wander around this board over here, there's going to be and by the way, the FAQ on this game is amazing. I highly recommend the FAQ. I think it's great. Well, let me tell you about the game. We'll go to the FAQ after. But the basic idea is you're wandering around the board over here. It's a solo story-driven game, which means you could play it cooperatively if you just make choices together. But you're just wandering around the board, interacting with the landscape, making choices, solving puzzles. You're going to have, like, who do you want to talk to, and then read various books and make various choices, and again, have a degree of puzzle solving. So it's basically very much video game feel. If you, even just the art looks like you're wandering into the scene, you have to choose who to talk to, and then as you do so, you'll open up different narrative options and pathways as you wander around this little thing over here, how you get from various locations. So again, it's a lighter game that's more about the narrative and the story and the exploration than anything else. You can go ahead and check out the FAQ, like I said already. I think it's fantastic. They have questions like, is it a linear or sandbox? And it's like, well, the main story is linear, but various other things are very sandboxy. Is it true solo? Is it a board game role-playing? What's the complexity level? How long does the game take to play? This is an incredible fact that really addresses the kinds of things you should know before you back this game. Is it a legacy game? No, there's player sheets. Is it replayable? Yes, you're going to discover more content in the game that you may not discover the first time round. It really goes through the stuff. Honestly, it's the point that should have all been like a main page FAQ. Like, throw it on your main page somewhere, because some really good questions that tell you if this is a game for you or not. It gives you that information that might pull you in more with the information it tells you, or it might give you the confidence of, hey, this is not a game that's for me. Both things. I think it's a really good FAQ. Highly recommend going through that. As far as the pledges for the game, it's $40 for the base witch pledge over here. It's $80 for the devout witch. It's going to give you a few things: some upgraded tokens, some journals, and it's going to give you the side stories of Witchbound, which is basically a season 1 pass to more content, digital content for the game, digital or PDF content for the game in case you want to dive into the world more. So the devout witches, if you really want to heavily dive into this world, you can also get those stuff alternatively, as these pledges that'll get you, like, cool things in the game. So design a custom NPC, design a market stall, things like that. Alternatively, the side stories over here will run you $20 if you just want those. You don't care about the extra other things, the journal, the Coven Cove, compendium, the Witchwood tokens. So that's basically what's going on. We have some, some stretch goals that were unlocked as far as the various, stretch goals for the backer count or the pledge funds and all that stuff there. But yeah, a story-driven game with a degree of puzzle solving, with a degree of a large degree of narrative, and more content coming forth. You can go ahead and check out, Mike's, if you want to get a feel for the gameplay. Just watch 5 minutes of this preview over here. Highly recommend it. It will really, in 5 minutes, you'll have a good sense of what the play is like and whether this is the kind of thing that pulls you in or not. And that is Witchbound over on GameFound. Which brings us lastly to Four Corners. 230 backers, $9,900 raised. This is coming to you from Calliope Games, basically from Ray Wares from Calliope Games. Four Corners, oh, that's where I know the name from. Ah, it makes more sense now. Sorry, I just recognized the name. Anyways, Calliope Games over here, Four Corners. This is bringing you Four Corners Galaxy and Four Corners Kaleidoscope, although from what I've seen, they seem to be the same basic gameplay, just 2 different themes to it. But basically, the games are all about trying to accomplish various goals as you place tiles down into this board over here, and then rotate tiles, swap tiles, doing all of that. It seems to be on the lighter side as far as the gameplay. Basically going to have a hand of goal cards, place tiles down, accomplish goals in a variety of ways based on those, placing, moving, and powers and all that stuff. And that's basically what's going on in Four Corners. The base game is going to run you $32 for one set, or $60 if you want both sets for the game, which will primarily save you on shipping, but also save you, $2 a game as well, in case you want both of those. As far as should you back it, should you not, in general, Calliope games are generally available down the road, and they usually don't really give you a strong incentive to get it on Kickstarter, on crowdfunding, as opposed to getting it retail. I think they put out some solid games. I love Enchanted Plumes. I still have that one. It's actually, I think it's my favorite game from them. They're famous for making Suro as well, but I think in terms of if you want these games, you're probably totally fine getting them at retail or the secondhand market. And that's what we have for everything over here, which brings us to Picks of the Week. Picks of the Week is usually going to be 2 things: the game I am most interested in, and the game I think will most hold its value. As far as the game that I think is most likely to hold its value, it's going to be Batman Escape from Arkham Asylum from Night Games. I think that ultimately this is an expensive game. Whether you want this game or not is a different question entirely. But I do think that this is one that is the most likely to hold its value just in terms of the IP, in terms of the fact that we have, 2,000 people back in the game, $400,000 raised, and in terms of the fact that you're getting a lot of exclusive content and the GameFound exclusive content for this game, I think it's likely to be the one that most holds its value. Disclaimer on 2 counts. One is I do work for GameFound, take that into account when I select any of their games as a pick of the week. And then secondly, also do understand that Night Models does have some issues with their Harry Potter game. They have a bunch of aspects of how it's 2 different teams running it, so they have answers, they're dealing with it, but understand that, for transparency's sake, they have issues on their Harry Potter game as well. That's going to be my value pick of the week. As far as the game that I am most personally interested in, is actually Roll for Great Old Ones. This is one that was not on my radar, but as I watched the video, as I looked into the gameplay, and as I saw all the fun things you get to check off on your roll and write, and the fact that it's not a print and play roll and write, which means I'll actually go ahead and get it and hopefully play it all. This one actually strangely compelled me more than I thought it would, and now I'm very excited to go through this and see just how much I do or don't like it, and whether it's a complete letdown or whether it's one that really surprises me. I don't know, and I'm very intrigued to find out. This is my personal interest pick of the week instead. Not instead. This is my personal just pick of the week. And then as far as games coming up, we have 2 games in general. I'll just pick a few over here. We have the Search for the Lost Species over on Kickstarter, 2,700 backers. This is the new version of the Search for, Planet X. It's basically a re-themed version of it with some minor gameplay changes. I will have coverage of this, although it will be, a few days into the campaign because I'm going on vacation and I don't have time to cover in the next 2 days. But I will have coverage of this, mid-campaign coverage for the game. And then additionally, over on GameFound, we have Andromeda's Edge launching 2 days, 21,000 people following the campaign. Very curious to see how this one does over here. And this is the spiritual successor to Dwellings of Eldervale, same designer, a whole bunch of things that are very similar, a ton of stuff going on in the game. This is going to be launching on GameFound January 31st. In fact, I think they're both January 1st titles, and that is what we have there. And with that, I am Alex Radcliffe from Board Game Co. Until next time, I hope you have a good one. I remember the first time I found out what a universal remote was, and I was like, wow, this changes everything.